I will just introduce myself a little bit. My name is Suji. I'm a member of the Professional Education Services team in Melbourne office at Turnitin. I'm originally from South Korea. In South Korea, I used to be an English and a librarian teacher, but I moved to Australia probably 10 years ago, and now I call Australia home and enjoying my life here and working at Turnitin. It's a really great opportunity for me, although I can't be a teacher here. Maybe I can if I want to, but interacting with educator is definitely rewarding to me. So I'm really glad to see you guys today. And if you have any question, always feel free to, ask to me without any hesitation. So I will get started. Yeah, but before we start, I always going through this Zoom housekeeping, but since most of us work from home, I'm pretty sure everyone's quite familiar with Zoom. So just a reminder, if you are not muted, make sure you mute yourself. And if you have like a problem with your internet bandwidth, I recommend you to turn off your video, because these days I have a problem with my internet. So when I actually run the training session, I turn off my video. And you can use the chat box here to write any question. So I will read your question and answer on live. Some of the faculty members joined my last training session, which was demonstrated on Moodle. So I'm aware of that your university have a couple of like different platform, how you access Feedback Studio. So today's session is focusing on the Turnitin.com. If you access Turnitin Feedback Studio via Moodle or any other LMS system, this session is not for you because it actually causes more confusion. And if you are using if you are a Moodle user, but if you go to Turnitin.com and make some changes, the change will not be reflected to a Moodle. So this session is mainly for users who access Turnitin Feedback Studio via Turnitin.com. So I want to highlight this before I start it. Let me quickly check participant to mute everybody. Great. So I'm going to give you a little bit of introduction of what the Feedback Studio is and what user roles we have, and why we use a Feedback Studio. And then I will explain the Similarity Report, how Similarity Report works in Turnitin, and what type of files we support and what file requirement we have. Then I will log into Turnitin.com. We'll create a class, add a student, and create a new assignment. Probably some of you are quite familiar with this workflow, but it's always good to have like a refresher training. And once I created all the assignment, I'm going to go to my existing assignment to show the submission, and then go to Feedback Studio. We will have a look at Similarity Report, grade mark, and ETS grammar feedback tool. If I have time, I will finish up with the getting help. This is just one PowerPoint slide that I'm going to share with you, but this information will be available on our following up email. So if you have to leave early, that's fine. You will get all the resources that you need. What is Feedback Studio? This is something that I'll always highlight before I start my training session. Turnitin is our company name, and the product that you will be using is actually the Feedback Studio. The reason why I'm highlighting this, when you go to turnitinhelp.com, then you will not be able to see any product called Turnitin. You will see a product name called the Feedback Studio, and you will be able to access instructor, administrator, or student guide through this website. So I always highlight that make sure you understand what product you use, because we have a number of different products that provide by Turnitin. Turnitin Feedback Studio is known as a plagiarism detection tool. Or I do understand we are well known like a plagiarism detection company, but this reputation stems from some university student having to submit their submission to Turnitin without having access to view the similarity report. So when students see the similarity score, they automatically think that's actually plagiarism score. So when the score is quite high, they got really concerned. And also it's applied to instructor. When they see high score, instructor automatically think that this student has a plagiarized, but it doesn't represent any plagiarism score. So this is very important, and I will show you how to interpret similarity report later on today. But that's one thing that I also want to highlight, that we do not provide a plagiarism detection tool. We provide a text matching software, and that is designed to educate a student regarding appropriate citation referencing techniques and provide instructors with online grading capabilities. In particular, it helps to ensure that students are completing work with academic integrity. So Feedback Studio is made up of these three different components. The similarity report, you may be aware of this. This is our main a tool, and this will be the tool you will be using a lot. And there's a grade mark, which is our grading and feedback tools. And we also have a voice comment, so you can record your voice for your student. And the last one is a grading tool, so grammar feedback tool. So it's called ETSE Rater, which is automated spelling and grammar feedback for students. So it's more for self grammar checking for your students. So pretty much the instructor do not need to do anything. They just need to enable this in the assignment setting for your student. I will skip this part because we don't have much time. There are three different Feedback Studio user roles. One is the administrator. So I'm pretty sure you know who the administrator of your institution is. So this will be the main contact with Turnitin support team. And the administrator will be able to add instructors or edit instructor in Turnitin institution account. Also, she will be able to access the usage statistic. So if you have any faculty members who's just joined a university and do not have a Turnitin account, and if this faculty member access the Turnitin via turnitin.com, you can just notify your administrator. I'm pretty sure your administrator would be already aware of it. Let me quickly mute new participant. Okay. And instructor is you. This is just Turnitin terminology to cover teachers, educator, lecturers, tutor, grader, marker. Can be any, pretty much any educators, but this is our just terminology. Instructor can create classes and add a student and add an assignment to that class. And here's a student role. Student will be able to submit papers to assignment. Paper is also Turnitin terminology. You can call it file, you can call it document, submission, but this is just our terminology. So I will keep referring that to papers. Okay, and student can also self-join classes when instructor create a class and provide a class ID and enrollment key. Or student can be added to the class by instructor, which I usually recommend, so that students have some misunderstanding or making a mistake creating multiple account in Turnitin. Then it's gonna be actually use your student license for your institution. So my recommendation for instructor, once you create a class, you add your student to your own class. Then how does the similarity report work? When your students submit an assignment to you, it will be matched against 3 different databases listed here. The first of them is called Student Paper Repository. It contains over 1.3 billion student submission, and it keeps growing. And that's the repository that allows you to match against the previous student submission and allows you to end the issue of a student passing on their assignment to a friend who's going to do same subject the next year or next semester, or siblings just handing out their assignment to their younger siblings. So pretty much it will be very useful repository for you to stamp out the student collision. And the next one is current and archived internet. And this is the one that you are going to be matching against most frequently. So when you see all these matching sources, mainly will be internet sources, because this is where students are getting most of their information from these days. We crawl over 15 million websites per day, and we added those to the archive. The archive is actually quite useful. If you consider like websites like Wikipedia, there are the editing right for everybody. So if one of your students uses that content from Wikipedia and they just copy and paste to the assignment, and then they pretty much go back to Wikipedia and edit that specific paragraph, most of the students will think they can get away with it. However, Turnitin will save this archived internet page in our database, so they will get caught out eventually. So we are not trying to detect plagiarism. We are trying to prevent plagiarism. Okay, let me quickly mute the new participant. Okay. And the last one is the Scholarly database. This is a collection of the top scholarly content across all disciplines delivered directly from publishers and open access repositories. So you can easily compare your students' submission against published works from around the world. You have an option to disable compare one of these like a database to compare your students' work, but we always recommend enable all of them so that you have more content that you can compare against from. And here are the Similarity Report supported file types. So Turnitin pretty much accepts all file types. If a student wants to submit video and audio file types, that's completely fine. But the main reason we are using Turnitin Feedback Studio is to see the Similarity Report. So those file types we support to generate a Similarity Report. So as you can see, most commonly used file type, all the Microsoft software, Adobe PDF, even Google Doc, we support HTML plain text. So as you can see, there will be really no file types that we don't support that students use. There was one question. Please demonstrate how to upload the Google Docs to Turnitin. If I have a time, yes, I will do. I do not usually demonstrate the student view, but I can do that if I have a time, or at the end of the session, I can just record it for you. So I will see how I go with the timing. And if a student use Google Apple Pages, they can click on File, Export to a PDF file, and submit to Turnitin. And here are our file requirement. So you can see that the file submitted to Turnitin shouldn't have any password protection and contain more than 20 words. and less than 800 pages in length, and be less than 100 megabytes in size. Okay, that's pretty much like a basic information about Turnitin Feedback Studio. So I'm going to log into Turnitin.com and have a look at the interface. Okay. So for any of you new to Turnitin and you are not sure about your login details, please reach out to your administrator. Accessing Turnitin is quite easy. You go to Turnitin.com. And on the top right hand side corner, you can see a login button. Click login. And you will have your email address and your password. And click login. Then what you can see is firstly, name of your institution. I have been added to many different institutions as an instructor, so I can see many different type of institution, but you will be able to see just one institution here, and there will be nothing if you have any class or assignment you created. So on the top right-hand side corner, you can see the main navigator. If you click on user info or your own name, you can change any of your user information. So email address, a password, a secret questions, and so on. So they are identical. And here are messages tab. Whenever you have a new message, you've seen new message, just go click message and have a look. Otherwise, you will never need to go to message tab. When you download any online grading file, it will be available under the message tab. So you can download the zip file and you can unzip to see all the grading file for your students' submission. You can toggle your role to student. So once you do that, you can see the student's view. So if you are quite curious what student actually do and what your student can see, the best way is you add yourself to your class. This is my class, the instructor. And I can now go to the class, my existing class. I've been added as a student too. Then this is what student can see. The assignment title, whether there's a rubric attached, there's a date, and my similarity score, if I'm allowed to see the similarity score. If I'm allowed to resubmit, I can resubmit, and I can view my submission in Feedback Studio with the Similarity Report. So this is a student view. Doesn't mean that you are accessing students' account. It's like you act like a student. You can also change the interface language if you like. And once you click on the community, it will take you to a Turnitin educator network. Any educators welcome to join this network and ask any question if you like. Help is pretty useful. Once you click on that, it will take you to our help.turnitin.com. And you are accessing Feedback Studio via Turnitin website, so click on that. Then you have an instructor guide. So if you want to provide any student guide, so pretty much you can provide this guide to your student. Then they will be able to see how to log in, how to submit a file, all information they need. So that's everything about this navigation bar. So I'm going to scroll down, go to my demo account. Yeah, I have so many. There you go. My Melbourne, Turnitin Melbourne College. So I already created a couple of classes. So I will show you how you can create a class first. There's a big green button, add a class. Click on that. Then it will allow you to create a standard class, which is our default setting. You can change this to master class if you like. Master class is kind of like a class that one teacher can share their class and assignment with another teacher. So 2 teachers total will be able to share and class and assignment submission all together. So I'm going to show you this a little bit later. Class name. So let's see. Just type anything for the training purpose. So you must have like a naming convention. It's always good to have some like date or time reference for the class, just in case, you know, you want to use this Turnitin class next semester. So it's good to have some, just timing reference there. Enrollment key is the password that you give to your student to enroll, self-enroll your class. So it can be a combination of numbers and alphabet. So I will just put any gibberish here. And subject area and student level, although these are required field, it's not going to be visible anywhere to anybody. So do not stress about it. I always select other. Student level, I will select postgraduate. Class start date is today's date. Class end date will be 6 months time from today's date. So when I click on the calendar, you will be able to change the class end date. And click submit. And now Turnitin has generated the class ID automatically. You do not have to write down this anywhere because it will be available on the main page. Enrollment key also you can look up easily by clicking on edit class. So I will click continue. And now I see the class ID here and new class name. This class is active, start date, end date. I can also access to the statistic for this particular class. When I click edit, I can go back to the previous page and I can change the enrollment key or any other information that I want to change. So I'm going back to the previous page. And I mentioned briefly about the master class. So when you create a master class, you will be able to see this little section button. So when I click on the section button, now I can create a subclasses under my master class. Let me quickly mute the participant. And what's gonna happen is I'm now able to add another teacher to manage this class with me together. So I'm the master class teacher who is managing English 2020. This class will be used for just managing your student, managing submission, managing all the classes. You will never use this class for actual teaching. So once you click on that, you have just assignments that you can push to subclasses. So you never add a student to this class. A master class is just for managing subclasses. So it's quite important. And then Vuos, which is my teaching assistant, will not be able to access the Genius class and vice versa. I'm the only one can collaborate with Karin, Zinnia, myself, and Vuos. So that's the master class. I have one question here. Is the class created in the website a direct link to do? No. If you are a Moodle user and then you have a learning management system that you integrate with Turnitin, you do not need to access to Turnitin.com at all. So this training is for users who use Turnitin.com directly. So if you are LMS users, this training wouldn't be right for you because it will just cause more confusion. Yeah, I think it's best for you to contact Mary, Andy, so that she will be able to give you more information about that. So I ran the session last week in Moodle. So that's how you can create a class. So I will go to my new class. And now what I can see is the add assignment button. And there is a student tab. So I'm going to add the student. When I click on the student tab, now I can see add individual student button and upload student list and email all my students. So firstly, I will show you add individual student. What you need is first name, last name, and email address. But just to make sure that the email address will be their username. So if your students encouraged to use university domain email, please use that. We do not want student use the Gmail or personal email. We try to avoid that because it's going to be harder to verify whether this student belong to this university or not. And upload the student list, pretty much the same as individual student, but this time you just upload the file, Excel file or plain text file. The format is exactly the same. You need the first name, last name, email address. And we accept 100 entries. So if you have more than 100 students, you can just upload 2 different files. So once the student receive this welcome email from Turnitin, if they already have Turnitin account, what's going to happen is they will be receiving email that they have been enrolled to this class by this instructor. So it's pretty much a notification. But if this student's new to Turnitin and student doesn't have a Turnitin account, student will be able to set up password. So it's just instructor really do not need to do anything. This just upload your student list and Turnitin will send the right information to your student. Okay, so what I'm going to show you is the example of the student list, so you have some idea what happened once you upload your student. Here's my class and students. I have 3 students here, and here are enrolled date. You can see whenever you see the pink highlighter, it means this student has never logged into Turnitin. Then you can click this enrolled date, and you can make sure the email address is correct. Maybe this email went to junk or spam mail and the student really didn't check it. Then you can always resend the enrollment email. So once you go to student tab, you can see like who logged in, who didn't log in, and you can also drop student from your class as well if a student left the university or dropped the class. If you like to email all your students, click email all students. Then instead of you download the list of students and then email them using your email software, you can just email directly to your student using our email feature. So that's like adding class and student, pretty straightforward, easy to do. The next one is adding assignment. I just want to pause here for a second and ask if anyone has any question before moving on to the assignment setting. Okay, feel free to just type any question on the chat if you have any. And on this page, I will click the add assignment. And there will be a little bit of a delay always. So you don't have to click multiple times, it's happening here. Okay, now I'm directed to the new assignment page. You can type your assignment title. Point value is the maximum grading value. As you can see, this is optional if you are not using grading tool or you don't want to do grading in Feedback Studio. You don't have to type anything, but I will type 50. And here's the start date, due date, and post date. Start to date is date and time that this assignment become available for a student and they can begin their submission. And make sure you set up the time correctly as well. Due date is the date when the paper must be submitted by. And post date is quite interesting. If you're not quite sure, click on this, hover over your mouse to the question mark. So this is the date that any of your grading and feedback is released to your student. So this is a feedback and grading release date. So post date can be before due date, after the due date, or it can be same as the start date. So any date change can be done by clicking on this calendar. And these are file types that I explained earlier in the presentation. You can allow any file type for your student to submit, but it does not guarantee that we generate a similarity report. So if we allow only file types that Turnitin can generate to the similarity report, then it actually gives a student a guidance. They can't submit this paper, or they cannot submit, they can submit this file type. So always I recommend the first option. When you click this optional setting, we have advanced settings here. You can give any instruction of this assignment to your student. You can allow late submission. So would you like to allow a student to submit after the due date or not? This one, if you select no, student obviously cannot submit after the due date. If we select yes, student can submit after the due date if they never made a submission before the due date. So this setting does not allow for a student to make resubmissions after the due date. So any late submission date will be highlighted in red to indicate that their paper was submitted late. So if it's pretty clear, it's not allowing any resubmission. It only allows student who is to submit who didn't submit before the due date. And we have some similarity report setting here. So the first one is, would you like to generate a similarity report for submission? Of course, that's why we are using the Feedback Studio. So I will select yes. And make sure that if you are not quite sure about this setting, always hover over your mouse to the question mark. And there's a similarity report generation for student. So there we have 3 settings here. So this is more related to when you want to generate similarity report and whether you want to allow resubmission for your students. I will explain on the due date first. So on the due date, it means all the similarity report generated at the same time on the due date. And that's handy for things like a final submission, or if you don't want student to see the similarity score before the due date, you can select on the due date. Student allows to submit as many as submission they want to, but they will be able to see the report only on the due date. If you want your student to see their similarity report at the point of their submission, then you need to have it generated immediately. But we have 2 different options here. The top option here, the first report is final, means a similarity report is generated, but a student cannot resubmit even if the due date has not passed yet. So students will be able to see their report as soon as they submit their paper. However, they will not be able to resubmit. Second option, students can override their report until the due date. This means students can resubmit as often as they need to until the due date. and similarity report for the initial submission, and the next 3 resubmission will generate straight away. So after 3 attempts, there will be a 24-hour wait. So students have to wait 24 hours to get new report. So it's after 4 resubmission. So because we do not really want, student abuse our system, change just one sentence or one paragraph, resubmit over and over again to see the similarity score. So this is something that student must know, and they also get the warning messages. So you don't have to explain to them, they will know. When you select the second option, this is what we encourage most of the time. When you select the second option, student can reflect, incorporate your feedback and improve their work. So when they can see their report, they can act on what they've seen and edit their work and then resubmit. Just to be aware that if a student resubmit, it will overwrite the previous version that they had submitted, including any of your feedback that you left on that submission. And we have some exclusion option. You can exclude bibliographic materials such as a citation list, referencing list. Also, you can exclude quoted material, and then also small sources. So when you click small sources, you can see you can exclude word count and percentage, but I do not recommend any of these options turned on in the assignment setting. I will show you why later on in the Feedback Studio interface. So I will turn this all off now. Would you like to allow a student to see the similarity report? My recommendation is always yes, so that student can actually have a look at their report, and they can use a filters and setting, and they can actually act on it. If a student purely copy and paste their work from internet or someone else's work, it will be highlighted on the Feedback Studio, so they can actually see that. And once they found out actually Turnitin can detect that, the matching text, they will actually start working on their submission, and then they will resubmit. So giving your student to learning opportunity, and then they can actually act on it. But it's also totally up to instructor. Enable anonymous marking. Not sure it's enabled in your university account. This is pretty much like a blind marking. So once you enable this option, instructor will not be able to see name of the student or name of the title of the submission, so that instructor can mark and leave a feedback without seeing a student's information. So it's pretty much like a blind marking. And we do have repository option. I explained this earlier in the slide. When your students submit a paper to Turnitin assignment, would you like to store it in the standard paper repository or new repository? The benefit of submitting papers to the standard repository is that student paper submitted to your assignment will be checked against other students' submission in the future. So you can stamp out student collision. You can prevent the student passing their assignment to someone else or younger sibling, or selling their assignment on the internet. But there will be some times where no repository is the correct option. If you create a dummy assignment like what I'm doing now for a trial, you wouldn't want to store any of your demo papers to Turnitin databases. If you're having students submit a lot of personal or identifying information, about themselves or about another person, perhaps you do not want to save that in any other like a database. It's not just Turnitin, but any external database. Or this paper just contain a lot of images of like very personal, like private images that then you don't want to save it. So you can be quite flexible what you want to save and what you don't want to save. But benefit of selecting standard paper repositories, your student will not be able to share or collaborate their assignment with others and resubmit over and over again. So I will select Node repository for now. And search option, these are our database that I explained earlier. So we have 3 databases. Would you like to compare your students' submission to those 3 databases? Absolutely, yes. Do not worry about this option. This is a kind of a private paper repository. Sometimes the institution want to purchase, then they will be able to see that. Online grading is our grading tool. So if you use Rubric, you can click this launch Rubric form manager. And on this page, you can create new rubric. If you have any rubric that you want to import to Turnitin Feedback Studio, click this and import. And make sure you download the example template, which is the Excel spreadsheet. And you can just copy and paste your rubric criterion scores and then submit to Turnitin. This feature is also available in Feedback Studio. And rubric is pretty hard to kind of demonstrate in this short session. So if you need more resource, I can definitely send you along. Also, if you click on this link, it will take you to our resource page. And if I scroll down a little bit, I think it should be here somewhere. There will be some like rubrics and quick mark that you can download and use it. Not sure, maybe it has been moved, but yeah, you can always refer to our resources. We have a lot of blogs, webinars you can attend. Everything's free. So you see webinar, upcoming webinar, you can always register any of these. And we have ETS grammar feedback tool that I explained in the slide. So once you enable this option, if you disable, you can't see anything, but you can change the handbook level. So this is like students' English level. So I would select probably advanced for university student, but this can be changed anytime in the Feedback Studio. So do not worry about much. You can use, choose English dictionary if you like. In Australia, we select UK, but probably Philippines, you might want to select US or both. You might like to ask, like, what is these all options? So I will show you in Feedback Studio, don't worry. I totally understand the assignment setting wouldn't really make sense for like a new user, but once you go through this and then go to Feedback Studio, everything will make sense. And if you do not want to go through these settings again, but want to save this, then make sure tick this box so that next time when you create an assignment, these settings will be all saved under your account and submit. So now I have my test assignment, start date, due date, post date, and none of my students submitted to my assignment. When I click more actions, you can edit assignment setting. It will go to the previous page that we saw. You can submit a paper on behalf of your student, and you can delete assignment. Click view to access the assignment inbox. So at the moment, there's no submission. So I will go to now existing assignment that I can demonstrate submissions. There you go. So this page is pretty much what you will see when your students submit a paper to Turnitin. You can see all the similarity index. Quickly go through this index here. So there's certain like a threshold and percentage, and it matched to a specific color coding. But as I always explain, the first initial similarity score is not very important because it must be included the referencing, quotation, And if I ask a student to use a template, all the text in the template will be also included in this score. So do not judge students' work by looking at this score, because it's just the initial score. So make sure you go through every single submission and check your student's paper. So I'm going to click one of the students' paper here. This information, everything quite simple. There's a name of a student, title of the submission, similarity score. If you left any grading, you can see grading. If not, there's a pencil icon. Response, whenever you see the dot, means that your student has not reviewed your feedback. If you see this icon, you can see student has viewed and opened this feedback studio on this date and this time. You can download your original student's paper. Here's a paper ID. If you have any problem with Similarity Report, you can provide this ID to our support team to investigate further. Submission date. Any late submission will be highlighted in red like this. If a student didn't submit, it will say just late. Right, let me click on this title of the paper, have a look at the feedback studio. Okay, so this is a kind of my demo paper. I made this to make it easier for instructor to interpret Similarity Report. On the left-hand side, we have a page navigator. If this, your student submissions are quite have multiple pages, quite long, then you might want to click this lock button and keep this on the left-hand side, but I always remove it. Name of the student, title of the submission, max grading point was a 50. So I can type any grading if I want to. If you click this left arrow, you will go to previous submission. This one take you to next submission. If you click this down arrow, you will be able to see students list up to five submissions. Always click question mark if you need any more assistance or help or any guide. So you can see all our guide there. And we call this active layer on the right-hand side. First one is a grade mark, the grading and feedback tool. Second one is a similarity tool. Third one is e-writer, grammar feedback tool. And the last one, this gray one, is a download this is a report and submission information. So what I'm going to do first, I will show you the similarity report, and then grading feedback and how you download the similarity report. I have to explain a little bit about this paper. I wrote the it's not really great paper in terms of writing, but it actually shows what happened if a student copy and paste, what happened if a student paraphrase. So the first paragraph I copied and pasted from a website called Think Global Green about coral reefs in Queensland. Copy and second paragraph also copied and pasted from the website called Sierra Club. However, this time I have replaced some word with synonyms. So copy and paste the exact paragraph, but changed a couple of words. Quotation, I used the quotation mark at the beginning and the end of the paragraph, and also used the indentation. So Turnitin accepted two different types for the quotation, quoted material. So you can use either just quotation mark only or indentation. Mashup, here is the paragraph that I copied and pasted the content from 4 different sources, and I tried to mix them together to make this more sense and pretend like actually I wrote it. And we have paraphrased paragraph. So this one, I actually look up a little like article and ebook and I read it and I thought about the topic and I put it into my own word and I rewrote the content and also added a little citation at the end of the paragraph. Original text is a paragraph that I would just read to myself and I added some images as well. And then I've got 4 references in this assignment. One is from book, a couple of from website and from publication, and some news article as well. And over the right-hand side, there's a 53% some number here. So this number, this percentage, indicates 53% of the students' work is matching back to content that's in the Turnitin databases. So it does not necessarily mean that the student had a plagiarized 53% of their assignment. As you know, from what I was showing you, there are quotations as well as the references. So I'm going to click this 53% there and scroll up. Now you can see the color, the highlight all over the paper. So also you will see that the list of all matches we have found. And these are colored highlight match back to those shown over on the right-hand side and what we call the match overview. And they're also numbered, and those numbers are shown at the beginning of each matches, as you can see, which is a match to match overview matches here. So when I click next number 2 match, it will take me to number 2 match on the student's paper directly. Number 8, number 7, so you can easily find which matches this on your student paper has found in the sources. So let's look at the first paragraph. Paragraph number 1, you can see the entire things highlighted, and which is what we would expect because I pretty much copy and paste this paragraph from a Think Global Green. So let's look at the source number 2. Somehow this is not from a Think Global Green, and I will think, why is that? Why Turnitin cannot find the source that student has used? Because this paragraph has been used so many times in so many different internet pages or used by so many students. In that case, what you can do, click this arrow next to the percentage, then scroll down. You can see a lot of students used this paragraph. And it's also in the publication. Think Global, green here, internet sources listed there. So once you click on this arrow next to each percentage, it will take you to match breakdown. We call this match breakdown and show you the possible matches. So most of the time you will see a lot of overlapping matches. Your student can say, oh, I never used ocean.si.edu.com, but then you can have a look at this source. Like, okay, there are so many sources that student can use to copy and paste these sources. So you can pretty much easily find out which source your student has used. Next paragraph. So most of it's highlighted, but there are some white breaks, as you can see. Those are the words that I actually changed. So you can see how it will skip over individual words, small strings of words, and continue the match as far as you can. So that's how we were able to detect the sort of synonym changes. It continued to the quotation. I can see it's from match 1. And then student pretty much use whole 2 paragraph, including quotation from the Sierra Club sources. So when I click on number 1, and I can see the little pop-up, which will display the preview of the matching text. If you would like to see full source view, click the book icon. Now I can see the side-by-side comparison view. Let's have a look. Most of us think of this is the original text, but student has changed to most of people consider. All right, that's okay. But I can see this student did use little trick, tiny to small, release to expel to release, self-defense, spelling changes. So I can kind of see what student trying to do, but is this a student like understanding how to do paraphrase, or is this a student try to actually having some cheating behavior? I'm not quite sure yet. So let me go through next one. Quotation. So the original text was a 2 degree Fahrenheit, but in Australia we use a Celsius. So student actually changed it to 16.7 Celsius degree. Okay, maybe this student doesn't even know how to quote correctly. Maybe I need to actually talk to this student whether student never learn how to quote correctly. So this is a kind of for instructors and educator kind of having teaching moment, and then diagnose that whether analyzing that whether my student have this knowledge or not. I will keep going to next match by clicking on this arrow. So it will take you to next match that student has used in this website. So click next. And I found a quite interesting part here, reference. Okay, this student did referencing. So this student expect me to go to this website and have a look at this original text. So I guess this student really didn't try to cheat, but have never learned how to paraphrase, and she or he didn't know how to quote correctly. So then I can definitely have a conversation with my student and then educate them. So that's how you interpret this similarity report by clicking on each sources compared to the original text, and then have a look at the comparison. What your student has changed, what student actually copy and paste. And we do have a mashup. It's obviously cheating because student actually uses 4 different sources and then try to make one paragraph looks like, and make like student wrote this. But I can see this, it's highlight the 4 different colors and 4 different number. But when I look at the number 8, this is a commonly used sentence. I will click on number 8 and have a look at the preview. Okay, I think this is just a commonly used sentence. Anyone can write this sentence. Would I consider this is actually copied and pasted from this Guardian website? I don't think so. Probably this is something that student wanted to write. And then I'm now thinking, okay, I will remove this match a little bit later. And then we have a paraphrase. Nothing's highlighted. This is a perfect. This is what we expected. Original text, it's all from my head and it's all, I didn't copy and paste anything. Nothing's highlighted. Expected. And we have a very important thing here, references. You remember you can exclude references in assignment setting, but the reason I didn't recommend, then you cannot see this highlighter here. When you are looking at the referencing list, we want to see a reference rainbow, every reference in a different color. If it's not a different color, it must be different numbers. If the reference list is all in one color, it means that student may have copied and pasted that reference list from someone or somewhere else. So now you know the benefit of turning off all the exclusion in the assignment setting. And I can see student use 4 different references. That's great. And I can see this one here, which is not highlighted. But remember that we show all the text matching that in Turnitin database. So it means that like this is, maybe references is not in Turnitin database, then just copy and paste this and then Google it, because this is the reference that I actually used to write this paper. do not assume that student just made up the referencing. Just make sure Google it before you actually assume anything. If you have any content you want us to add, please contact us. Our team will be able to add it to database really quick. So that's how you interpret your similarity report. You are more than welcome to create your own paper, demo paper, submit and see how it works. You must have some of your, papers that you submitted when you were a student or when you were doing PhD degree. So try it and then see how it works and then practice and then interpret it so that you can educate your student. So now I have checked my students' paper. There are something that student has to definitely fix, but I want to now exclude a quote and the reference list. So I will tick this box. So to do so, go to this panel icon. And then I mentioned that before, when I look at the mashup, number 8, so number 8, this match, I wouldn't really worry about this because I think less than 3% for me is not worth to look at because I do not see any copy and paste plagiarism, anything less than 3%. So go to filters and setting, exclude quote, bibliography, and then I will type less than 3%. I will exclude it, apply changes. Now it indicates 42% of the match overview. So this is now overall score. I will have a look at the report again. Okay, copy and paste, synonym changes, mash up, but first sentence has been removed, reference removed. Great. Now I can focus on the potential of plagiarism on my student's paper. So you can save a lot of your time instead of going through every single different matches. You can just focus on main matches that might be, that you may concern. So now it's 42%. See, it was 53, but now it's 42. So initial score is not that important. Please make sure go to Feedback Studio, have a look at their report. And student can also use a filters and setting. They cannot manipulate the score permanently, but they can see how the score can be dropped by using this filters and setting. When students are aware that this is not plagiarism score, and they can use a filters and setting and then see whether their work is original or not, they wouldn't be scared of Turnitin Feedback Studio. They wouldn't see this as a punitive tool. It will be a formative tool for them. So that's always I want to highlight, as a teacher, this is important. We want to help our student, not, punish our student. And we have also all source view here. So in this view, you can exclude specific sources. Just click any of the sources that you want to exclude and it will be gone. However, it's not going to impact my overall score because there are a lot of overlapping score as you can see. Percentage. And once you exclude any sources, it will be available here. So you can always restore all of them or some of them. So that's a similarity tool. That's the main tool that you will be using and very important. There you go. This question from Andy. Is it possible for Turnitin to detect in-text citation that are not in the reference list and vice versa? At the moment, it's not possible, but we are going to launch new product. Not new product, add more features in Feedback Studio. And in that feature, yes, you can exclude the citation in the text. But it's not yet available. It will be available this year sometimes. It will be very handy for instructors. No worries. I'm going to turn off the similarity tool and then turn on grading and feedback tool. Not sure if a lot of instructors use it in your university, but we have a quick mark tool. So this is like pre-existing commenting tool in the Feedback Studio. So once you click this drop-down menu, you can see the existing quick mark set. So for example, the great thing is the plagiarism spectrum. When you click on that, you can see all different comment, a feedback that you can give to a student without writing any single word. And it explains all different type of plagiarism that student actually has made in their submission. So for the first paragraph, I'm going to highlight all of them and then select this quick mark and say this is a Control C. And if I want to add more comment, I can just add anything and move your comment anywhere you like. And you can also change your color highlight if you like. You can drag and drop the comment from the right side panel. However, it's not going to indicate which area you are referring to. So I usually enjoy using this drag and click the quick mark. So paper directly comment. And another comment, you can use the bubble comment. So you can just write any feedback from the scratch. Click anywhere to save your comment. Again, I will change the color highlighter. And if you start using this comment over and over again, convert this to quick mark. And save. And next time you can see your quick mark. So when I go to next submission, I don't have to really write anything again. I will just highlight and then go to quick mark, and I will use my quick mark. The students will get a consistent feedback from you. And we have a strike through, pretty much like red line across the text. If you click anywhere, you can inline text the comment. You can write anything on the student's paper directly and then move if you like. It's great if you have enough space on students' submission, but if not, sometimes it can be on the top of your students' writing, then it's going to be really hard to read for them. So we usually encourage you to use quick mark or bubble comment. Managing all the quick mark set, you always click this cog icon. Then same as like a rubric, on the top left-hand side corner, you can create a new set, manage all set. So this can be also like you can read through our guide, one step-by-step guide to create a quick mark on your set and then import, export the set as well if you like. And we have voice comment. So it's up to 3 minutes. You can record your voice by clicking on that and pause it, have a cup of tea, come back and just start recording again. And then stop it, listen to your voice comment and save it to Feedback Studio. Then once the post date is passed, student will be able to access all your feedback as well as grading. Overall text comment, you can leave up to 5,000 characters comment. In Feedback Studio, any commenting tool always have this bold, italic, underline, and hyperlink option. So you can provide really like a rich feedback without using a lot of text format. And we do have a rubric. So in Feedback Studio, instead of a grid view, we have a slide bar. So giving a score to your student using this slide bar. Because most of the time you know your rubric in your heart. But if you do not like this, click to this expand view. Then you can see the grid view, the typical, the traditional rubric format. Like that. Select its criterion and you can see the total score and 2.2 out of 4. You can apply it to that grade. and close, then it's 28 out of 50. But you can always change that manually. So that's the rubric. Again, click the cog icon to make any changes for upload, download, share with someone. So that's our grading grade mark. The last one, second last one actually, I want to show you is our grammar feedback tool. Great thing about this tool, you don't have to do anything. Just turn this on for your student. Then student will get automated grammar feedback. Sometimes that feedback is not relevant to or not appropriate, or you do not appreciate this feedback, then you can always dismiss it. Then 1 mark dismissed. The student will not be able to see the feedback. Click again. You can add more comment on top of the pre-existing comment. Ask your student to click View Handbook. Although it doesn't look like a button, it is a button. So remember we set the English level for the handbook in the assignment setting. On the top right-hand side corner, student can change this as they want to. There will be not much difference, as you can see. It's just the example of the sentence will be slightly different. I'm not sure this is a common trick, but in Australia, we have found that some students use a trick, use white color font on the paper. And sometimes grammar feedback tool found that grammar mistake in hidden text, which is quite bizarre, but you can see it's a blank page, but there are, grammar feedback tool. What's happening here? If you found something suspicious on your students' paper, sometimes, students screen capture their text and then paste on the Word document. So that's actually image, text of image text. And then they convert to the PDF file. Then Turnitin will not detect this portion of text because it's actually image. Then go to text only report. This is not working. Why is that? Once you go to text only report, what happens is it will remove all this HTML format. It will only show the raw text. So if this part of text is actually images, it's gonna be get rid of from the text only report because it will only show the text. Yes, Andy said that. Yes, there was some student. There are so many students like, oh, how to beat the Turnitin. There's a trick for Turnitin, and they use a white font. Yeah, so go to text only report to find that. There's a hidden text in it. I did it on purpose. And we have submission information. So you can see again, paper ID, submission date, how many times your student resubmit, and how many quick marker comments you left, and how many grammar feedbacks on this submission. All this information, quite useful. And I turn on all this tool. So remember, this is an active layer. So you can deactivate this layer if you like, then it will be disappeared. You can download current view. This is really, really handy. So if you want to only download the similarity report, disable grading, grade mark and ETS, then it will only download this. If you want to download every single thing on the report, select all of them and click current view. I got logged out. Okay, let me quickly log in again. Okay. There you go, 42%, awesome. Everything will be saved in Feedback Studio. So if internet connections like this, unstable or something happened to your laptop or desktop, that's fine. Everything will be saved. I will just turn on all the layer again, download the current view. The only one thing that's not auto saved is just this voice comment. Right, it's ready. So once you click on the current view, you will be able to download the PDF report. You can see the submission details or the all color highlight as well as quick mark, text comment there, grammar feedback tool, I can see. And now you can see Similarity Report. On this report, I can see students heavily relying on internet sources, and a lot of other students using pretty much similar internet sources. My final grading, whether I left voice comment. So students can download this report as well. Well, see all the information that's in Feedback Studio, even the rubric. So it will highlight the criterion that I selected in the rubric and every single score for each criterion and scales. So you can download a really nice report. Student can download it, you can download it, as long as the student can access the Similarity Report. So that's everything in terms of Feedback Studio. I know this session being last longer, but thanks for staying with me. I will just show you the last slide where you can get the help guide. I'm pretty sure I showed you a couple of times where you can find the information to click the question mark, then you will be directly directed to the guide here, help.turnitin.com. Or you can also contact your institutional administrator if you have any question in terms of your account, and you can get contact with our professional services team or contact me directly. And you have also account manager in Philippines, so you can contact the account manager as well. So that's everything for today.